Here we have a Volkswagen Arteon, a rare sight indeed, since they are rarely seen in the wild. It's rare in the US because VW has only sold 6,000 examples since it was launched in April of 2019. This one is even rarer because it is in fact an albino. Okay, enough of the silly wildlife voices from behind the camera. Prices of this one start at $36,000 for a base SE. There's three models to choose from. This is the mid version, R-line trim. This one goes for about $42,000, which is quite expensive. You could actually get an Audi A5 for similar prices. So you'd have to make up your mind if you want something like this. This is the most stylish car that Volkswagen makes. Now this one has actually undergone a facelift, which is quite soon, considering that it was launched in 2019, but it was launched a couple of years earlier in Europe, and so it's ready for its mid-cycle refresh, and of course we get that on this side of the pond. For 2021, it gets these new, even more stylish headlights. These are in fact LEDs, a slightly wider grille than before. You get the R there for the R line, and then these vents are actually real. They help to cool the brakes, provide better fuel economy. I think from the side it's a very handsome car indeed. It's obviously a four-door coupe styling with this rakish look to the back of the car. So my favorite part is the fact that this is not a regular trunk. It is in fact a hatchback with a ton of space. Obviously you can remove this, fold the seats flat, and you've got a ton of room in the back here for whatever you might have, dogs, luggage, etc. And then also it's got a real spare wheels. That's a plus these days because normally you get a can of compressed air and fend for yourself. Alright, inside it's actually very spacious. These seats are pretty comfortable. They don't move back and forth, so that's a small fault. This seat's quite a long way back and I've got plenty of room. I can tuck my feet in there. One miss though, despite having heated rear seats, there is nowhere to plug in my phone. That's a bit of a miss, Volkswagen. That's a bit of a miss. Now the Arteon has a detuned version of the engine that you will find in the Golf R. It's got 268 horsepower, 258 foot-pounds of torque, driven through an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Standard automatic, no DSG here. And this engine powers all four wheels. It has Volkswagen's 4Motion system. It's not a bad engine, but it definitely has been tuned for more comfort rather than sport. Okay, so in the front, very nice. These seats are comfortable, extra soft leather. Trim level is really nice. Some of these plastics are super soft feel. Even here, look, it's all squishy plastics. Here is a certain element of luxury. Obviously, as I said, they don't sell too many of these, but I think they want to drive people into showrooms so they can buy a crossover. So I kind of like the fact that this is a four-door sedan, a very rare breed these days. So they've redesigned this whole dash. There used to be buttons above here. This is really nice. You've got chrome, you've got this sort of like patterned look here, soft feel plastics on the top. The infotainment system is pretty much the same, but it's fairly quick. It's intuitive. You can make any changes you need to based on the car. You can set it up for different modes. What they have done though is increase the level of this shiny black plastic, piano black. Not a huge fan. And then these sort of touch sliders, so you just slide your finger across and it changes everything. Changes the temperature. You've got the fan speed, so you'll hear fan getting louder. I don't know if I'm such a fan of that. I do like knobs, call me old school. You do get a couple of knobs here, but they don't do an awful lot. So down here you get your stop start, you get your mode button, which when you press your mode button, you can choose from Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, or Individual, and you can configure it in a number of different ways. Hit Adjust, and you can change all those settings. Now this one also comes with the park assist system if you can't park a car. Obviously the obligatory stop-start button, which I usually use. And then right up here, as far as storage is concerned, is a little sort of cubby, which we do a consumer test here. I have an iPhone 12, fits in there even with the case. But the problem is that doesn't charge your phone. USB 3s, which are great if you have that particular cable. If you have an old school cable, out of luck. As I said before, in the back seat you get nothing. Here in the center console you get a little cubby that could be described as being for a key, I guess. And then this opens up to reveal your cup holders. It'll fit a decent sized cup in there. Now onto the steering wheel. Again, they've done this mix and match with regular soft feel plastics and then this piano black stuff and these sort of haptic style controls. So when you click on it, they sort of click, they sort of buzz, they vibrate. It's really confusing to know what to do. On this side you've got your volume controls, on this side you've got your track controls, voice commands, heated steering wheel, and then view, and then you can change the screen. This one has the VW's version of the Audi system. It's not as good as the Audi system, but you can scroll through as it vibrates, and you can change all these different things in the system. See what's playing, got navigation. Go for a drive and see how this Arteon performs. I'm going to set off in comfort mode. It's very smooth, and you can tell it's definitely not set up for sport, despite having a borrowed engine from the Golf R. Let's see what it does in sport mode. Let's just quickly put it into sport mode, see if that makes a difference. Obviously with the gear lever you can move it between regular D and sport. Sport will give you more aggressive upshifts. So it feels a little bit firmer in sport mode, not a whole lot of difference in the steering. Of course there is that custom mode you can choose to set the steering soft versus the suspension a little sportier, however you want, whatever flavor you're looking for. It revs pretty well up to its red line. Brakes are good, really good. So the main problem I have with these haptic style controls are they're really fiddly to use when you're on the move. I mean, if the idea is to keep your eyes on the road more and be less distracted, it hasn't worked. It's a lot more complicated to hold your finger on a little slider than it is to simply turn a button or a knob. So I'm not hugely in favor. Unfortunately, the new Golf has done away with almost all physical buttons. Steering feels quite precise. So if we floor the throttle, it makes your typical VW noise, and it's not slow. It feels decently sporty. But you have to ask yourself the question, do I want to spend $42,000 on this car, or even $46,000 on the highest level model, when I could go out and buy an Audi A5 that might not cost you much more on a similar price level, and it's going to be faster. Last time I tested one of those, 0 to 60 took 5.4 seconds. This one I feel would be struggling to do 6.1, 6.2. Quick, but not really rapid. One thing I have noticed is the bane of Audi and VW's 2.0 turbo engines is that lag on takeoff. You stomp on it. Now this one hasn't seemed to be suffering from that problem yet. I think it's quite tricky to see out the back. There's not a lot of view in the rear view mirror. But if you have a lead foot, you're not going to see too many people anyway. This thing can definitely get out of its own way. And then the lane departure system seems to kick itself on every time you turn the car off, which is annoying because you have to fiddle around in the digital cockpit dash in order to turn it off. So there are some things that are annoying. The lack of a wireless charger is annoying. The fact that there are only USB 3s in the front, and unfortunately the only cable that I could find is a old-fashioned USB that doesn't fit. So I can't charge it wirelessly, and I have no power in the back. So they're misses. But it is a nice car to be in. It's a nice car to drive. I think it's just better in comfort mode. 258 foot-pounds of torque is enough to sort of waft along and just enjoy your surroundings. It makes it a little quieter. It's not revving all the time. I think the digital dash looks great. Again, the quality of the materials, the new design looks phenomenal. It gives this car a huge lift in sort of the feel and how upscale it is. You have to weigh the fact that it doesn't have 4 rings on the front. It's got a VW badge. And do I want to spend $40-some thousand on this car or not? Would I buy one of these? Probably not. I would probably look around if I was in the market for something like this. I may even end up buying an Audi. There are some BMWs out there that might be interesting buys, but this one, it's tough. You will end up with one of the rarest cars on the road. Pop around and see what you think, but this is a nice car. I think VW have done a really good job to make it into the luxury car that they were aiming to build. So anyway, as usual, I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe, like, make some comments. Let me know what you think. Thank you.